My sister pushed me off a tower. Unaware I survived. Wolf Shifter's romance. The castle of Arendor rose from the cliffs like a shadow etched against the silver moon. Its towers were tall, proud, and ancient, with ivy crawling over the stones like the fingers of ghosts. On this particular night, the wind whispered secrets through the battlements, and the full moon cast a cold light across the castle gardens. Kalen stood alone atop the tallest tower, the chill of the night brushing against his skin. His dark hair clung to his forehead, damp with sweat from the climb. Below, the festival of lights glimmered, torches swaying, laughter echoing, music drifting like smoke into the night. But Kalen did not feel the joy. He felt the weight of secrets and the ache of betrayal. His twin sister Alara danced at the edge of the crowd, her golden hair catching the torchlight. She smiled as if the world belonged to her, and in truth, perhaps it did. But Kalen knew a truth hidden behind that beauty. She had been conspiring, whispering with dark forces that no crown should wield. And now he had proof. Kalen's hand clutched a letter he had found in the council chamber earlier that day. The parchment, sealed with the mark of shadow, spoke of alliances with creatures beyond the human world, beings of darkness who demanded loyalty in exchange for power. His sister's hand, he realized with a sinking heart, had touched those forbidden pacts. Kalen! Elara's voice carried over the music. She had spotted him, standing like a sentinel on the tower's edge. What are you doing up there? Come down!
It is dangerous. He did not turn to face her.
His voice was steady, though his heart thundered like a drum. Elara! I know what you've done. The darkness you serve, it will consume you. The smile left her lips, replaced by a flash of something cold. Kalen, she said softly, you do not understand. Power! Power demands sacrifice. He shook his head, stepping closer to the edge. The stone slick beneath his boots. Not like this. Not by breaking family, by lying, by betrayal. I cannot let this continue. Her eyes narrowed, a fire igniting behind them. You cannot stop me. You never could. The wind carried her words sharp and cutting. Kalen felt a chill, not from the night air, but from the truth of her intentions. His sister, the one he had shared everything with, who had promised to protect him as he had promised to protect her, had chosen ambition over blood. I will not let you rule with shadows, Kalen whispered, and it was both a promise and a curse. Elara's laughter rang out, soft and cruel. Then you leave me no choice. Before Kalen could react, she moved with the speed of a striking serpent. Hands too delicate to harm should have been gentle, yet they pushed with all the strength of her anger. Time slowed for Kalen as he tumbled backward over the edge of the tower. The wind roared in his ears, the moon spinning into a blur of silver and black. For a moment he felt nothing but the hollow emptiness of falling. His mind raced, not with fear for himself, but for her. For the sister he had loved, who had made a choice that could destroy them both. Then darkness. Kalen awoke to the scent of wet earth and pine. Pain radiated through his body, but he was alive. His head throbbed, his limbs ached, yet he drew a deep, shuddering breath. Moonlight filtered through the trees, silver and gentle. The tower above was far behind, now only a shadow on the cliff. Something stirred within him. Not entirely human, not entirely the boy who had fallen from the tower. He felt fur along his skin, claws sharpening in his mind, senses alive in a way they never had been. He tried to call out, but only a low growl rumbled from his throat. A voice, soft, old, and echoing in the forest, spoke. You have survived because the forest wills it, but you are no longer only human. You walk between worlds now, Kalen of Arendor. He turned, and from the mist a great wolf emerged. Its eyes glowed silver, and its fur shimmered like starlight. Kalen felt a strange connection, as if the wolf spoke not with words but with memory, with blood, with instinct. I am what? He asked, his voice trembling. You are the bridge, the wolf said. The darkness that touched your sister cannot touch you here. But it has left its mark. You must learn. Control, or it will control you. Kalen fell to his knees, pressing his hands to the forest floor. His body shivered, both from the cold and from the transformation that had begun within him. The boy who had been pushed from the tower was gone.
In his place stood something stronger, wilder, something that could fight and survive when the world wished him dead. Yet his heart remained human.
And it ached. Days passed, though time in the forest felt different. Kalen learned to move silently, to see in the dark, to hear whispers carried on the wind. The wolf spirit guided him, teaching him patience, restraint, and strength. But the memory of Elara burned like fire in his mind. The sister who had smiled, who had lied, who had pushed him from the tower, lived. She ruled Arendor now, wearing her crown like a mask, unaware of what she had truly created. Kalen struggled with the desire for vengeance. Night after night he dreamed of her face, of her laughing, of her hands that had betrayed him. And in those dreams a strange longing stirred, a need not just to punish, but to understand, to reclaim the bond that had been broken. "You cannot hate and love at once," the wolf whispered one night. Its silver eyes reflected the moon. "You must choose, Kalen. The path of revenge will make you prey to the darkness. The path of mercy may yet save her, and you both." Kalen's hands clenched into fists. He wanted to strike, to roar, to tear down the kingdom she had taken by deceit. Yet he also wanted something more, something dangerous, something human. One evening, as the moon hung low and orange over the forest, Kalen crept to the edge of the trees that bordered the castle walls. From the shadows, he could see the glow of torches, the laughter and music of the festival continuing without him. And there she was. Elara, the Queen of Arendor, standing alone on a balcony gazing at the night sky. Her golden hair fell over her shoulders, and the silver of the moon kissed her skin. Kalen felt a sharp twist in his chest, a mix of rage, sorrow, and an undeniable longing. She whispered something he could not hear, words meant only for the stars, or perhaps only for her own guilt. And in that moment, Kalen knew she did not know he lived. Not truly. The knowledge fueled both his anger and his pain. How could someone he loved so deeply commit such betrayal? Yet, watching her, he realized the world had shifted. The girl he had loved was also a prisoner of her own choices, bound by powers darker than herself. Kalen stepped closer, unseen, silent as the shadow of a cloud across the moon. His wolf instincts urged him forward, but his human heart hesitated. Should he reveal himself, or should he wait, learn, and prepare for the moment when he could either save her or claim justice? The forest whispered around him, leaves brushing like soft hands. The wind carried her scent, her voice, the memory of what had been and what could never be. Kalen closed his eyes, letting the silver light wash over him. "I survived," he whispered to the night, and to her. "And you will know it soon." The moon disappeared behind clouds, and the festival below continued, unaware that the boy they had mourned was no longer entirely human, and that the shadows had begun to stir with purpose. Kalen's heart, wild and relentless, beat in rhythm with the forest. He would wait. He would watch. He would become what he needed to be. And when the time came, Elara would finally understand the cost of her betrayal. The forest whispered in silver tones beneath the moon, leaves brushing like secrets against the night. Kalen moved with the grace of a shadow, each step silent, each breath a part of the wind. He had spent weeks learning the ways of the forest, learning to trust the wolf within him without losing himself entirely. Yet no lesson could ease the ache in his heart when he thought of Elara. She walked the castle halls unaware of the watcher in the woods, unaware that the brother she had betrayed still lived, changed, and powerful. Her laughter, once comforting, now haunted him, a reminder of all that had been lost. Kalen crouched on a ridge overlooking the valley. Torches glimmered like fireflies in the courtyard below, where the people of Arendor continued their nightly celebrations. The queen moved among them, golden hair glowing under the lanterns, eyes bright but shadowed by a growing uncertainty. Kalen's sharp ears picked up whispers, not of the festival, but of dark forces stirring. The letter he had discovered before the fall had been only a hint. Now seeing Elara struggle, he realized the magic she had used to claim the throne demanded a price. Shadows moved in her palace, quiet and invisible to all but those who knew how to see. "Do you feel it, Kalen?" The wolf's voice, low and silver, broke his thoughts. "The darkness she called upon is not yet satisfied. It waits, hungry, and it will take what it must." Kalen's claws flexed beneath his skin, a reminder of the power he now wielded. "She doesn't deserve this," he whispered. "Not her, not anyone." The wolf studied him with glowing eyes. "Then you must decide. Save her, or let her fall. Both paths are dangerous. Both paths demand courage." Kalen swallowed, thinking of the sister who had smiled at him so often, the same sister who had almost killed him. I
don't know if I can forgive her," he said, voice thick with pain. "Forgiveness is not weakness," the wolf replied.
"It is strength. And sometimes strength is the only weapon that can defeat darkness." That night, Kalen slipped closer to the castle. From the shadows he watched Elara pace her balcony. Her crown, bright and golden, seemed to weigh heavily on her. For the first time, Kalen noticed cracks in her armor, hesitation in her movements, unease in her gaze. She looked to the stars as if seeking answers, and for a moment, Kalen's heart ached with longing. The wolf within him urged caution, but the boy within him wanted to see her, to hear her speak as she once had, before betrayal and ambition had changed everything. "Elara!" he murmured under his breath, but the words were lost in the wind. Still, the sound of her name seemed to carry to her ears, and she froze, her eyes narrowing as if sensing something unseen. Kalen's breath caught. Could she feel him? Could she know, even in some hidden corner of her mind, that he was still alive? He did not dare reveal himself. Not yet. Not until he understood the danger she faced and the cost of her magic. Days passed. Kalen watched her from afar, learning the rhythms of her court, the patterns of her life. He observed how she spoke to her advisors, how she smiled at nobles she barely trusted, and how she sometimes lingered in the gardens alone, staring at the horizon. It was during one of these moments that he realized something: she was not entirely happy. The crown, the throne, the power, none of it seemed to fill the emptiness that lingered in her chest. Kalen felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps she could still be saved, even from herself. Yet danger was never far. One evening, as mist rolled across the castle walls, Kalen saw figures creeping through the outer gardens. Rival nobles, seeking to overthrow the queen, moved with poisoned blades and whispered schemes. Kalen's wolf instinct surged. He could not let harm come to her. Not yet. Not while there was a chance for redemption. He leapt from shadow to shadow, moving with silent precision, his senses tuned to every sound, every flicker of movement. When the assassin struck, Kalen was there, a shadow of fury and silver light. One by one he disarmed them, not with hatred but with force precise and controlled. They fled, terrified of the unseen protector who had saved the queen without leaving a mark. Elara, awakened by the chaos, rushed to the balcony just as Kalen melted back into the night. She could feel something. Someone had been there. Her hand clutched the railing, knuckles white. "Who?" she whispered, her eyes scanning the darkness below. But no one answered. Only the forest held its secrets. The days that followed were a dance of shadows. Kalen continued to guard her from afar, sometimes saving her from minor accidents, other times just watching, studying her expression, learning her patterns. He discovered she was not the cruel, untouchable queen she appeared to be. She worried, she doubted, she feared mistakes. She was human, and in that humanity Kalen found a spark of the sister he had once loved. Yet he could not ignore the growing darkness in her court. Strange whispers echoed through the halls, shadows that twisted and bent unnaturally. Some nights Kalen caught glimpses of figures that should not exist, beings that were neither human nor entirely solid. The magic that had helped Elara rise was dangerous, and it hung over the kingdom like a storm cloud. One night, Kaelin saw her in the castle gardens again, standing beneath the moonlight, hands trembling slightly as she traced runes in the air. The symbols glowed faintly, silver and soft, but he could sense the danger in them. The magic required something, perhaps a sacrifice, perhaps a life. And though she had no idea, Kaelin realized the price might be her own soul. Kaelin's heart ached, torn between anger and longing. He wanted to reveal himself, to pull her into his arms and demand answers. But he knew that if he did, the dark forces might sense him, and they would come for both of them. Instead, he whispered from the shadows, words meant only for the wind, only for her subconscious. "I am here, Elara! I see you. I will not let them take you." The wind carried his words, brushing her cheek, and for a moment she shivered. She glanced around, eyes wide. "Kaelin?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The name slipped out before she could stop it. Kaelin's chest tightened. She had sensed him. Even if she did not fully know he was alive, she felt him, somewhere, always watching, always present. It filled him with hope and with pain. Days later, Kaelin followed her to the library of the palace, where she pored over ancient texts. The air was thick with candlelight and dust. She read aloud to herself, her voice soft, almost musical, murmuring words of incantation and old lore. Kaelin crouched on a rooftop, listening, heart heavy with the knowledge of her danger. Her magic was powerful, but untrained in its ways could destroy her. Every word she spoke was a thread, and the darkness she had called upon tugged at each one, pulling her closer to ruin. "I should warn her," Kaelin muttered, the wolf in him growling softly. "But if I reveal myself, the magic could sense me, and she could fear me." He stayed, silent and watchful, as she closed the book, sighing. "I cannot fail," she whispered, her eyes glistening. "Not now. Not after everything." Kaelin's heart twisted. He remembered the moment she had pushed him from the tower. He wanted to run to her, to shake her, to demand why. But he stayed hidden, letting the night and the forest protect her as he had always done, even in secret. That night, as Kaelin rested in the forest, the wolf spirit approached him. "You cannot save her forever by staying in the shadows," it said, voice low and steady. "Soon, she will face the trial her magic demands. You will have to step from the shadows or watch her fall." Kaelin's jaw tightened. "I am not ready. I do not know if she can be saved. And I do not know if I can forgive her." The wolf's eyes shone with silver light. "Then you must find the courage to see her as she is. Not the queen, not the betrayer, but the sister you once loved. Only then can the path forward be clear." Kaelin nodded slowly, feeling the weight of the task ahead. The forest had given him power, had kept him alive, but it had also given him responsibility. Elara's life and perhaps her soul rested in the hands of someone she did not even know had survived. The next evening, a sudden commotion drew Kaelin back to the castle walls. He watched as a rider arrived from a distant kingdom, bearing a message of war. "Rival lords sought to exploit Erendor's instability, aiming to overthrow the queen." Guards rushed to meet the rider, swords flashing, but Kaelin could sense the danger. The threat was real, and it could reach her before the magic she wielded had been mastered. He clenched his fists. He could intervene, save her once more, but he also realized something unsettling. The closer he became to her, the more dangerous it would be. For both of them, the darkness that surrounded her would sense him eventually. Kaelin pressed himself to the shadows, whispering her name. One last time for the night. "Be careful, Elara! I am near. I am watching. And when the time comes, you will not be alone." As he melted back into the forest, he glimpsed her silhouette in the balcony window, standing tall despite fear and uncertainty. She seemed almost to sense him, though she could not see him. And Kaelin realized with a mix of hope and dread that the bond between them, broken, twisted, and betrayed, was far from gone. The night held its breath, and in that pause Kalen knew. The real test was yet to come. The night air was heavy with mist, and the forest beneath the moon seemed alive. Every shadow flickered. Every leaf whispered secrets only Kalen could hear. The wolf within him stirred, sensing a change in the balance of the world. The danger surrounding Elara was growing, and he could no longer remain hidden. Kalen crouched on a ridge overlooking the castle. Torches flickered below, and in their golden glow he saw her, Elara, moving through the courtyard, her posture tense, her crown heavy with unspoken burdens. She paused near the fountain, tracing her fingers across the stone, her face a mixture of determination and fear. Kalen's chest tightened. The sister he had loved, the one who had betrayed him, now seemed smaller somehow, human and vulnerable. And yet the queenly presence she carried could not be denied. The wolf spirit emerged from the shadows, silver eyes reflecting the moonlight. "The darkness has sensed her," it said, low and serious. "Soon it will try to claim her. If you wait too long, she may be lost." Kalen's jaw clenched. He had watched for weeks, studied her movements and protected her from unseen threats. But now, hiding in the shadows would no longer be enough. He had to act. And that meant stepping into the light, stepping into her world again, where nothing would remain hidden. The first sign of danger came as a whisper on the wind. Kalen's senses sharpened, the wolf within him alert. From the edge of the courtyard, figures cloaked in darkness emerged. They moved like shadows, silent but purposeful. Kalen recognized them immediately, dark creatures called forth by the magic that had given Elara her throne. They were neither human nor fully spirit, and their eyes glowed faintly with hunger. Kalen leapt from the trees, landing behind the creatures with a grace that made him almost invisible. In one swift movement, he knocked the first attacker into the fountain, water spraying like silver stars. The others turned, realizing too late that the protector they had not seen was more than mortal. Elara's eyes widened as the battle began. "Whew!" she whispered, panic rising, but Kalen's voice did not answer. Instead, he moved with speed and precision, disarming, redirecting, and driving the creatures back into the shadows from which they had come. When the last figure fell, silence returned. Kalen stood in the moonlight, chest heaving, hair damp with sweat. Elara stared at him, the realization in her eyes dawning slowly. "Kalen, is it? You?" Kalen stepped closer, feeling the wolf within him urging caution. "Yes," he said quietly. "I survived, Elara. I am here, and I will not let you fall." Her eyes filled with tears, a mix of relief, fear, and confusion. I
thought I almost was," Kalen interrupted softly, the anger in his voice tempered by the pain in his heart. "You pushed me from the tower, Elara."
You left me for dead." Her hands trembled as she reached toward him. I was afraid."
I thought it was the only way. I didn't know you could survive."
Kalen held up a hand, stopping her. "Do not speak yet," he said, voice calm but firm. "There is no time for words. The magic you called upon is still active." "It is not done, and it will not be stopped by apologies."
Alara's lips parted, but no words came.
She had faced threats before, but none like this. Here was the brother she had betrayed, returned not only alive but stronger, more dangerous, more otherworldly. Her heart pounded, not with fear alone, but with something she could not name. Kalen motioned for her to follow. "We must move," he said. "The creatures you summoned will return, and soon they will bring others with them." Together they slipped into the forest, shadows blending around them. Elara stumbled at first, unaccustomed to moving without guards and walls, but Kalen guided her, his hand brushing hers briefly, a spark that was both comforting and alarming. The wolf within him growled softly, not in anger, but in caution. "You cannot control everything," Kalen said, breaking the silence. "And you cannot face this alone." Her eyes met his, wide and searching. "Then stay with me," she whispered. please.
Kaelin felt the pull of the human in him, the longing for connection, the desire to protect her. But he also felt the weight of the wolf, the reminder that he was no longer fully human. He nodded, his hand brushing hers again, firmer this time.
Always, he said. The forest grew darker, and the air thickened with magic.
Shadows moved unnaturally between the trees, and Kaelin sensed eyes watching them. He pressed closer to Elara, his presence a shield, his senses alert.
Elara, he said softly, your magic, it is strong, but it is uncontrolled. It calls to the darkness. You cannot hide from it, and you cannot fight it alone. She looked down, shame and fear flickering across her face. I thought power could protect me. I thought I could handle it.
You cannot, Kaelin said gently. Not yet.
And if you continue alone, it will destroy you. But I will not let that happen. You will learn, and I will teach you. We will face it together.
Her breath caught, and for the first time Kaelin saw vulnerability in her eyes. Not the cold, calculating queen, but the sister he had loved, the girl who had laughed with him beneath the moon. I don't know if I deserve it, she said, her voice barely a whisper.
Kaelin's gaze softened. Deserve what? Survival? Redemption? Love? None of us deserve life. But it is ours to fight for. And right now, you have a choice. Step forward with me, or fall behind alone.
They moved deeper into the forest, the path twisting and narrow, shadows pressing close. Kaelin led, ears attuned to every whisper, every movement. The creatures that haunted the castle were no longer following directly, but their presence was near, a reminder that the darkness was patient. Kaelin paused at a clearing, moonlight spilling like silver upon the ground. We rest here, he said. You need to regain your strength, and I need to understand what you have called upon. Sit. Elara obeyed, knees drawn to her chest, and Kaelin crouched beside her. The wolf within him settled but alert, sensing no immediate threat. He studied her, his eyes tracing the lines of worry and exhaustion etched across her face. You have changed, she said quietly, almost as if testing him. You are not the Kaelin I knew. I am not, he admitted. I am stronger, faster, more aware. But some part of me is still the boy who fell from the tower. That part still loves you, even after everything. Her breath caught, and she turned her gaze to the stars. I don't know what to feel. Guilt, fear, longing. I thought I had lost you forever. And now, her voice faltered, and now you are here. Aelin reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. The touch was gentle, human, and for a moment neither wolf nor magic existed. Only the bond of shared history, of love tangled with betrayal.
You are here, he said softly, and I am not leaving.
But you must face what you have done, and what you will do next. Your choices will decide everything. Not just your life, but the lives of all who depend on you. The quiet did not last. A sudden rustle, a flicker of movement alerted Kaelin. Shadows emerged from the trees, darker, stronger, more numerous than before. The creatures had found them, drawn to the power Elara carried. Kaelin's wolf instinct surged. He stood, hair bristling, eyes glowing silver. Stay behind me, he growled. Do not move unless I tell you. Elara nodded, fear in her eyes but also determination. She had seen enough to know that Kaelin was their only hope. Together they faced the encroaching darkness, the bond between them stronger than the fear pressing in. The creatures lunged, and Kaelin moved like wind, striking, dodging, directing their attacks. Elara, guided by his presence, whispered protective incantations, her hands glowing faintly with silver light. Together they fought, not as queen and subject, not as betrayed and betrayer, but as siblings bound by blood, history, and something more profound, trust renewed in the face of danger.
The last creature fell, dissolving into smoke and shadows. The forest was silent again, save for their breathing. Kalen turned to her, his wolf form still present, senses still alert.
"You see," he said quietly, "we are stronger together. You cannot face this alone."
Alara nodded, tears in her eyes. I understand.
And I am sorry, Kalen, for everything.
Kalen's heart ached, the human within him crying out.
"It is not too late," he said softly. "We can still fight this. We can still win."
Together, the dawn broke over Arendor like molten gold, spilling light across the forest and the cliffs below the castle. Mist clung to the trees, softening the shadows, but Kalen knew that the darkness they had fought was far from gone. The forest had grown quiet, almost expectant, as if it too waited for what was to come. He stood beside Alara at the edge of a clearing, her small hand gripping his larger one. Their fingers intertwined, a silent promise that neither would face what was coming alone. The bond between them had grown stronger in the weeks since his return, forged in shadow, battle, and trust. Yet even now, Kalen could feel the wolf within him stirring, urging caution, urging power, reminding him of the dangers that lay ahead.
"Alara,"
he said softly,
"today will decide everything. The darkness you called upon, its power, its hunger, it will test you. But you are not alone. We face it together." She looked up at him, her eyes wide and unafraid, though the weight of what lay ahead pressed down on her.
"I am ready," she whispered. I will do whatever it takes to undo the harm I've caused." Kalen nodded, a surge of pride and fear rushing through him.
"Then let us begin."
The source of the darkness waited in the heart of the forest, a ruined temple, overgrown with vines and stones blackened by ancient magic. Kalen sensed it before they reached it, the air thick, heavy with power, the whisper of voices like wind through dead leaves.
"Alara," Kalen said, his voice low, "you must focus. The magic inside you is strong, but if it is uncontrolled, it will consume you and me before we even face it."
She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. "I understand," she said.
"I will not fail, not now."
Together they stepped into the temple, the ruins looming like silent watchers. Ryan desired. Shadows twisted unnaturally, moving in patterns that made Kalen's wolf instincts bristle. He could feel the pulse of the darkness, alive, watching, waiting. It was drawn to her, yet it also feared him. A voice, deep and echoing, filled the air.
"You who call upon power, do you seek control, or do you seek freedom?"
Alara stiffened.
I seek to undo the wrong I have caused,"
she replied, her voice steady, though Kalen could hear the tremor of fear beneath it.
"Then you must face the truth," the voice said.
Shadows thickened, forming shapes, creatures of smoke and light, neither solid nor fully spirit, circling around them like a living storm. Kalen stepped in front of her.
"I will not let you face this alone,"
he said. The wolf in him surged, muscles coiling, senses sharpened, ready to strike. Alara reached out, placing her hand on his chest.
"I don't need you to protect me,"
she said softly.
"I need you beside me."
Kalen's human heart ached at her words. The wolf within him growled softly, warning, yet he felt something unfamiliar. Peace, strength, and trust.
"Then we face it together,"
he said. The darkness struck suddenly.
Shadows lunged, twisting and curling, aiming to overwhelm them. Kalen moved with the speed of wind, claws and strength guiding the creatures back, while Alara whispered incantations, her hands glowing with silver light. Together they were unstoppable. Kalen's wolf instincts guided them, anticipating attacks before they came.
Alara's magic, once wild and unpredictable, now moved with precision, focused by her will and strengthened by Kalen's presence. Each strike, each spell, each movement was a dance, dark and dangerous, yet beautiful in its harmony. The bond between them became a force stronger than either had imagined. "You are stronger than you know," Kalen whispered as he blocked a shadow's strike with a sweep of his arm.
Trust yourself. Trust us.
Alara nodded, feeling the power flow through her, through them, through the connection they shared. For the first time she understood that her strength was not just her own. It was theirs, shared, united, unbreakable. The battle raged through the temple ruins, shadows twisting and shrieking. Kalen and Alara moved as one, their trust and love guiding every step. Yet even as the last creature fell, the core of the darkness remained, a swirling mass of shadow and fury pulsing with the ancient magic Alara had once called upon.
You cannot fight me with weapons or spells alone, the voice echoed. Only through truth and sacrifice can you survive. Kalen looked at Alara, understanding dawning. This is it, he said. You must face it. Not just with magic, but with yourself. Your choices, your guilt, your love, they are the key.
Alara took a deep breath.
I will face it, she said. I will not run. I will take responsibility for what I've done. I choose to fight for what is right, not what is easy.
The shadows recoiled, as if sensing her resolve. Kalen felt the wolf within him relax slightly, the tension easing, knowing that her heart was aligned with her power. Alara stepped forward, hands glowing with bright silver light.
I call upon the power within me, not for ambition, not for control, but to heal, to restore, to make right what I have broken, she said.
The darkness pulsed, resisting, twisting, trying to overwhelm her. Kalen stepped beside her, pressing a hand to her back, lending strength and courage.
I am with you, he said. Always.
She closed her eyes, drawing deep into her own heart, into her bond with Kalen, into the love and trust they had rebuilt. Light flowed from her hands, warm and silver, spreading outward, consuming the shadows with brilliance. The darkness shrieked and twisted, but it could not resist the power of truth and redemption. Slowly it dissolved, unraveling into mist and fading into nothingness. The temple grew still, the air clearing as though the very forest had sighed in relief. Kalen dropped to his knees, exhausted but unbroken, the wolf within him quiet now. Alara stumbled beside him, catching her breath, silver light still glowing faintly in her hands. They looked at each other, eyes wide, hearts pounding, and for a moment there was no need for words. They had faced the darkness and survived together. After the battle, they emerged from the forest ruins as the sun rose over Arendor, golden light bathing the cliffs and castle below. The world felt renewed, clean, and full of possibility. Kalen turned to Alara, seeing her not as the queen she had become, nor the sister who had betrayed him, but as the woman she was, strong, brave, and redeemed.
Alara, he said softly, taking her hands in his. You have done it. You have faced the darkness within and survived. You are stronger than you think.
She smiled, tears in her eyes, the weight of guilt lifting.
I could not have done it without you, she said.
You saved me, not just from the shadows, but from myself. Kalen shook his head, a small smile on his lips. We saved each other. That is what makes us strong.
That is what makes us whole.
The wind whispered through the trees, soft and gentle, carrying the scent of the forest, the warmth of the morning, and the promise of a new beginning.
Days later, Kalen and Alara stood atop the restored tower, looking out over the kingdom.
The castle gleamed in the sunlight, the people below unaware of the battles fought in shadow, unaware of the brother who had returned and the queen who had redeemed herself.
Alara,
Kalen said, voice gentle, the world may never know what we faced.
But we do, and that is enough.
She leaned into him, resting her head against his shoulder.
It is more than enough,
she said.
We have each other. We are more than the past, more than our mistakes. We are free.
Kalen wrapped his arms around her, feeling the warmth of her body, the beating of her heart against his. The wolf within him remained, a quiet presence, a reminder of the strength, the trials, and the bond that had transformed them both.
Free,
he repeated softly, and in that moment the shadows seemed far away. The forest at peace, the kingdom safe. They stood together, looking out over Arendor, and for the first time since the night of betrayal, Kaelin felt hope, not just for the kingdom, but for them and for the life they would build together.